I'm Robert Ranieri. In today's video, I'll be going over the keyword percentage report. It's a Power BI report that is designed to show the competitive spend at a brand and search term level in an online marketplace. To begin, please go to my website, robaranieri.com/keyword percentage, or if you're already there, click on the keyword percentage tab. A Power BI embed will show up. I recommend going into full screen mode to begin. The default view shows the keyword percentage by brand, the one and only page in this report. At the top, there are filter options of week selection, time frame selection, business, subcategory, brand, and keyword. The default selection for business is beverages, but you can select whatever business you'd like or whatever subcategory you'd like, but for now, I'll just stick with what's pre-selected. This matrix table below has brands in the columns and keywords in the rows. There are two main metrics in this report, traffic and ad spend. Think of traffic as a click of an item online. Think of ad spend as the estimated amount of money that brand has spent in order to get their products to place higher on a website's search algorithm. Online shoppers usually begin their shopping experience by typing in a keyword or a search term on the retailer website. So for example, if a user wanted to buy water, they would type in the word water, and that retailer's algorithm would return all the list of products and brands available that are relevant to water. The default view shows three brands, Bottled Up, Riverly, and Springwater, all within the beverages business. Looking at the first metric, traffic, there are 16,427 clicks generated that are attributable to Bottled Up from the keyword water. Over the last 4 weeks, whenever a user has typed in water, there are 16,000 clicks that are generated that goes to the brand of Bottled Up. There are a lot more clicks that go to the brand Bottled Up generated from iced coffee. The percentage traffic is the total amount of clicks attributable to Bottled Up generated by that particular keyword divided by the total sum of the clicks of all the Bottled Up keywords. For example, water represents 3% of the entire clicks that go to Bottled Up, whereas iced coffee represents 11% of all the clicks that go to Bottled Up. The percent traffic MS, or market share, represents a brand's share of that particular keyword. For Bottled Up specifically, if we hone in on iced coffee here, they represent nearly a third of all iced coffee traffic clicks. If you scroll all the way to the right, you'll see the total summation of the traffic from all brands, not just Bottled Up, Riverly, and Springwater. There were 180,000 searches for iced coffee in the last 4 weeks. However, 60,000 of them went to Bottled Up. That represents 1/3 of the market share of the clicks. The next three metrics of ad spend calculate the same way that traffic does. For example, Bottled Up isn't spending any money on the keyword iced coffee. However, they are spending money on the keyword apple cider. Honing in on the keyword water, the traffic share of Bottled Up is 3%, for Riverly it's 6%, and for Springwater it's roughly 17%. In terms of ad spend, Bottled Up isn't spending anything, Riverly holds a 13% market share, and Springwater holds a similar share at 12.7%. Let's take a look at the ad spend efficiency of Riverly and Springwater on the keyword water. Riverly is spending nearly a third of their ad spend on one keyword, water, representing $35,000. Springwater has a higher budget, but is only allocating 8% of their spend, representing $34,000 on the keyword water. That $34,000 of ad spend is going much further, as it's garnering 24% of the market share, than Riverly's $35,000, which is only garnering 6% of the market share. Springwater's spend is much more efficient. It's generating a higher amount of traffic or click rates for each dollar that they spend in the market. Springwater is under-indexed, meaning that their ad spend is under the amount that they have in terms of traffic for the market share, whereas Riverly is over-indexed. They're spending nearly double the amount of market share that they have on that keyword in terms of clicks. The only other thing to consider is that Springwater may have a brand portfolio that is better suited towards the products relevant to water compared to Riverly. Riverly, for example, is dominating in terms of the word lemonade, where they hold a 95% market share. Putting ourselves into the shoes of an ad spend manager at Riverly, we know that the spend on the keyword water is not as efficient as other keywords. I would recommend allocating this $35,000 to some other keywords which we have some market share but may not be spending enough, such as apple cider and smoothie, where Riverly has a 7% and 11% share but doesn't spend nearly enough compared to its share amount of traffic. The goal of a brand should be to allocate the spend as efficiently as possible, making sure that the keywords that we're targeting are relevant to both the products that we're selling and make up a requisite amount of share in the market so that we can get the most efficient spend and maximize the number of clicks with as few dollars as possible. An example of a brand spending efficiently would be Bottled Up spending on the keyword apple cider, where Bottled Up holds a 35% market share in terms of traffic and a 37% market share in terms of spend. That's a very efficient spend Every dollar spent on the keyword apple cider is generating a nearly equal amount of market share. However, Bottled Up can probably do a better job in spending on green tea, where they hold a 4% market share, and so demand is present. However, they're not spending anything to get up to the level of share. The goal of a brand may not always be to maximize the efficiency of spend. It might be to do something more strategic. For example, if Riverly comes out with a new line of water products, they might want to take share away from spring water. To do so, they may pour more fuel in the fire or over-index themselves in terms of spend, something that they're showing in the data right now. If they do so, then the new products that they launch will show up first in the algorithms, and people will begin to click on it and hopefully generate more traffic not only now, but down the line as well. The goal of any given brand may differ depending on the strategic objectives that the company has set forth. In summary, this report gives users the ability to see what's happening in the market at a keyword level and what some of the strategies might be in order to efficiently allocate spend or to do something else that's strategic for the company.